live thing. Like seriously, like I've never done this before. Hey everyone, Game Changing Work Channel. We have Tony in the house today. So we are disrupting and getting us to think about how we think about work and life. And this is so cool. Like I think we talked about everything we wanted to talk about in the show before we actually went live today. But we'll do our best to repeat. And Tony,
hey.
So introduce yourself.
All right, I will. Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Babcock. I'm the founder and CEO of The Present You Inc. And I am a life mindset and business coach, as well as an NLP practitioner and a professional actor. So I do a little bit of everything. And I really am passionate about helping creative entrepreneurs, individuals, people, teams, and actors break through from the inside out. I kind of walk around talking about you are enough. That's really my mantra, and the mantra that I really try to pepper on everyone around me. And you know, all of those titles mean only underneath that I'm just a creative being that loves to share. And did I freeze when I said that? Am I freezing?
No. You like that?
A little bit slow motion. Not
yet. So today I could say we're gonna go off script. Imagine that. But keep us honest to get a little bit. And I think today you had some things to share, probably of what you do.
Yes.
I think one of the questions that is probably important about improv is how helpful it is. And what have you found it to be helpful in all the different types of people that you've come across, where, a lot of people think, oh, it's acting or it's this or that, but that's not true.
Right. Well, I think what I'd love to say leading into that question is, for me, so first of all, improv or improvisation, my definition of it is really a moment of spontaneous, intuitive instinct that comes across mind, body, and spirit, right? It's something we're doing every day. It's the moment when your kids come home and they're asking you a tough question and you've got to come up with something. It's the moment when you're doing a presentation and your slideshow stops working and you have to go off script, right? It's like all of these moments in life. Really, when we're talking about improv, we're talking about coming up with something seemingly out of thin air. And for me, my personal journey with improv, I was always kind of deathly afraid of that. That was something that I didn't have any interest in. I was the kind of person that needed a script, very rigid, keeping myself on track. And what I wasn't realizing was throughout that process, I was kind of creating this false narrative or this programming that I wasn't enough without some kind of material to work off of. And what I started to realize when I fell into improv quite by accident, and improv as a tool, rather than just the instinct moments, actually learning it as a tool, because you can go out there to the Second City or any kind of more acting world of improv where you can learn these skills. I started to learn that actually my ideas are enough. My instincts, my impulses are always right if I follow them organically. And then, the journey was then to put that into the work that I do with entrepreneurs and to kind of turn that into something that is more tactile, something that's repeatable, something that is beneficial that way. So, to come back to your question, when I work with teams, when I work with entrepreneurs on improv, really the thing that I see that's most beneficial is the idea that there is almost like an awakening that happens when someone is just showing up authentically, when they let go of the pressure to perform, as I call it, the pressure to put something out there that's other than you. And I think we all experience that. We're in the world now where it's virtual, right? So a lot of people are now showing up live. They're having to do lives for their audience. And now, they're looking at a screen and they see themselves on their screen. And there's this voice being like, you better be interesting. You better be funny. You better be entertaining. And I think that those voices, that programming is really what we want to sidestep, what we want to let go of, so that we can just show up as our authentic selves and trust that that's going to be enough for people.
Wow, that's powerful. As I call myself, now a life coach, I was an agile coach. And so I've been in lots of organizations, right? Big or small, some of the little starchy ones and everything. And to get on video, even to this day, if I get off the phone today and I go and go to work because I'm still in an engagement, they won't go on video. And what you're saying is so powerful and so huge is, for me, I'm like, why aren't you on video? What are you afraid of?
I think that I have that conversation almost daily with clients, with potential clients, with colleagues, and with teams, because I'm doing a lot of corporate Zoom workshops now. All of our workshops are on Zoom.
That's why I'm saying this. And companies, if you are what I just said.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is that, we often find that a lot of the people who are stopping themselves from going live, there's something inside of them that is tugging at them, that wants to be heard, that wants to be out there. But there's this, stronger programming. There's this voice of a parent, a voice of a teacher. I was saying this to you before we jumped on live, but we all grow up in a world where we're graded, scrutinized, criticized, we're ordered, right? I remember being in grade 8, and I was in this program of the smarter kids kind of thing, right? And I remember yeah, and I remember that there was this list. They I can't even believe they did this, but there was a list on the door of basically smartest to dumbest student. It was the grades, and I was always at the bottom of that list, and it was so traumatizing for me because I would walk around with this idea that I was good, but I wasn't quite good enough. And that would show up in everything that I would do, and it would turn into self-defeat, it would turn into self-loathing, it would turn into self-criticism. And then any entrepreneur, any business person, you can't escape that stuff. If you're constantly criticizing yourself, that is going to show up in your business.
I agree.
I mean, Roxana would probably be the first to tell you it's all personal, right? The idea that you can't escape that stuff. So that's why I'm a big believer in the inner game, and the tool that I use to really up your inner game, to really, or I should say balance your inner game. The tool I use predominantly is improv. And, it's a very simple tool. At first, people are like, this seems so simple and almost jovial or childlike. And then my response is exactly, yes, it is, because it is simple. It's a simple thing that we forget.
Oh, I agree. And I'll give you an example why. And you and I, we talked about this offline, and I want to kind of share where that kind of seals up why this is actually so powerful. I took a class that helped me think on my feet. And it was a lot of structure and a lot of things. And it might work really well for some people. But actually, while I was in that class, I had anxiety. I couldn't even participate in the activities. And it still did not help me because it was here that I needed help. And I have to point that out because this isn't going to help this problem.
That's right.
Exactly. And I think this is, if we go back, as I like it when you say it's, we're programmed to think in a certain way. And I think it's all about, understanding that the mold is what you make of it. You don't have to fit someone else's mold to be good.
That's right.
We're good. You can make your own mold. And I remember, so I took some improv classes, and actually when I was leading learning and development, and that was back in Europe, I was organizing communication skills courses for people in the company, for teams in the company. And one of the best ones were where I was calling in actors who were doing improv, and they were using improv in these communication skills courses, because it was like getting back to before we got to be programmed, childhood. Because when we're kids, before we start to be programmed by school, because school is the mold. School is the one that punishes trial and error. And that is absolutely unbelievable to me, because trial and error is learning, right? That's learning is trial and error. And schools punish error. Yes. So they punish half of the learning.
And failure.
The honor roll in valedictorian is actually not what we want anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, failure is the thing that we all need to actually embrace. Failure is really important. And that's really that's the missing ingredient. That's what stops a lot of people from doing improv. That's what makes, you know, when I walk into a workshop or on Zoom and I say to a team, I say, we're about to do improv and we're going to make things up. People are like, that's the immediate response. People are like, get me out of here. Oh, my video's off.
What?
And, you know, I think the biggest part is that we have such a fear of failing, a fear of falling on our face, because our programming tells us if we fail, if we fall on our face, everyone's going to hate me. Everyone's going to criticize me. The truth is, if you fall on your face, everyone's going to love you because you're human, and you're reminding us that we're human as well. So we actually want to embrace failure. I always say in my online courses, when I work with people, I say, embrace and friend failure and let go of expectation, because we have the formula backwards. Everyone's like expecting things all the time. We set up all these expectations. I expect my partner to say a certain thing, and when they don't, I'm going to be mad at them for 4 days. I expect, you know, to book this contract, and so when it falls through, I'm going to hate the world. You know, instead of, I'm going to be open to any possibility, but I'm not going to set up these unrealistic expectations. I'm going to goal set, but it's going to come from a mindset moment, from the moment. And then on the flip side, failure is my friend. It's okay to fail. I actually embrace failure. I welcome failure, and I'm going to laugh every step of the way as I fall on my face and show my human in front of everyone, because that's ultimately what we all want, right? We don't want someone who's perfectly polished. It just makes us feel, you know, it makes us feel like that's not realistic. It's unapproachable. If you're you know, if you're watching this right now and you're a coach or you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business and your channel is curated, like everything is like perfect photos, you know, income bragging, all of this stuff, people are going to be like, that's bullshit.
I'm watching a commercial.
That's not real. Yeah. And not only that, even if it is real, even if that is exactly who you are, and you're not showing under the hood, you're not showing the other side, people are going to feel like you're untouchable. People are going to feel like you won't understand what I'm going through because you're so high up there. Yeah. So, you know, I always say to people, you know, improv can show up in your marketing as well, which is when you're writing your sales copy, come in with a plan, but then allow room for you to write something in the moment that maybe feels a little bit vulnerable, that feels authentic, that you weren't planning to say, and then hit send before you can delete it.
Yeah, I totally can see that, where, you know, shows and movies through time, right? If you look back in time, Hollywood, it was very perfect, right? Everything. And when a lot of the movies and stuff, and now with the holidays, you know, Bad Moms is one, right? So like, can you imagine that being a movie back then? You know, it's just
no way.
Those things that they came up with on that movie, and that's just one example, had to have been someone channeling exactly what you just said.
Absolutely. I mean, the world is awakening. We're getting to a point where we don't want anything manufactured, curated, sanitized anymore. We want, well, maybe sanitized in the world today, but you know what I mean? We don't want a perfect
polish.
We want, you know, we want diversity on our screens. We want things to be real. The shows that do the best, the TV shows that do the best now, I'm watching Ozark right now. It's amazing. But the shows that are doing the best are the shows that are the most raw and grittiest. And, you know, I work in the entertainment industry as well. I see a lot of these casting breakdowns that go out for actors, for agents. And almost all of them is like, we want raw performances, gritty, nothing curated, nothing like, no character-y stuff, no overly acting. It's all very much about raw, right? And I think the entrepreneurial world is the same. People now want you raw, unfiltered, organic. And that really is the way it should have always been, right? Because the truth is, like you said, we built up this programming. Like Roxana said, the school really became the mold. And the truth is, we're all like, well, we don't really want that programming, or we at least don't want to subscribe to that programming. We can live outside of it, and we can realize that, you know, it's just about showing up as your authentic self. But that scares the heck out of most people.
Yes, it does. And most of the organizations that have this challenge, I'm going to say it's a challenge because they have to change.
Yes.
It's financial and healthcare industries.
Oh yeah.
And the list can go on.
Yeah, like, and I would say law,
The legal
probably,
industry as well.
when I say financial, that can include anything financial, Wall Street,
Like,
you name it. All of
consulting
these
very
very power suit, you know, like that kind of look that originally started. And, you know, like, look, when you go to a bank, you know, why does the person that, you know, the people at the bank, the manager has to wear a suit? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, seriously. It's like that whole persona is there. Now, I know that it's about 8:42, so I want to make sure that we talk about some of the things that we planned. So what was the plan? Because I'm going to have Friday-itis right now.
No, but I wanted to ask because Tony was mentioning, you were mentioning being raw, and that is for entrepreneurs, maybe that's perceived as easier, although we know that it's not necessarily easier, because especially if you're a solopreneur, you have to deal with everything that's in here, and that's not easy. But how do we bring the raw in organizations? Especially into continuing to what Veronica was saying, like consulting in all of these very polished organizations that were built in this industrial age where people needed to be and look a certain way to fit the mold or else. And now things are changing and are progressing. So what can they do? And how is that connected to what improv can do for them?
Great. Yeah, I love that question. Actually, this question comes up a lot when I do my corporate workshops, right? It's like, well, what do we do when we have, for example, like they have a script, right? Like they're on the phones and they have a script they have to follow, is a really great example. And, you know, it's been like completely like head office wrote the script. This is the script they need to stick to. And the question is, well, how do I bring like my raw, authentic self to something that is already very like rigid and very, you know.
I never followed those.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, what I say to people, and it's actually, I use acting as an analogy because this is exactly what actors do too, right? Is that you might have a script that is giving you directions. It's a blueprint that's telling you, you might have I'll use even a different analogy. You may have a playground that's been built, but it's up to you to play on that playground. And where you choose to go first is up to you. Do you go on the slide? Do you go backwards down the slide? Do you grab? Yeah, exactly. Right. So where do you fit on that playground? Where do you go? Right. It's not about, it's not about showing up as a robot, right? It's not about showing up as this like perfect picture, because the truth is that actually is not what your company wants anyway, right? A lot of companies, they just have a really bad way of explaining what they want, right? At the end of the day, if you're actually showing up organically and authentically, and I think the strongest way to do that is really bringing yourself to your work, right? So like heart-centered. So if, you know, for example, if you're we use bank manager as an example, right? If you're a bank manager and you have to wear this perfectly pressed suit, right? And let's say that you have no choice, that's a long game thing. That's like starting to make put those questions in, working towards maybe another reality. But what you can do is you can figure out what bank manager means to you. And I know that sounds very strange, but you know, if bank manager means to you, you know, if you got into a bank, working for a bank because at the core there was something about helping people succeed that really, you know, spoke to you, then you show up to work that way. You bring your heart into it and you speak to people based on that, right? You don't come out at them with like all this like semantic jargon, you know, energy, because that's never going to resonate with someone. You show up authentically, you show up with your own experiences. How do you relate to them? You take them out of the bank, right? Like in that moment, they're having a moment with you. You don't physically take them out of the bank. You take them out of the bank in the sense that you're having a real moment with them. They forget that they're in a bank. They're just having a human connection with someone. And now all of a sudden, when they think of that bank, they think of that feeling. That energy is now what they associate. And that's really the job of every company. In being the face of a company, I actually don't use that term. I say be the heart of your company, so that when you actually connect with someone, they go, oh, Trader Joe's, what an incredible, beautiful company. Because when I went there, Sandra was like, talked about her child with me, helped me find something. And I felt like a real human moment with her. And now all of a sudden, Sandra, the employee, has taken Trader Joe's and completely changed what it means to me.
It's the memory of Sandra, but then she identifies that as the brand. And that's why when we say you are the brand, it really matters. It's funny, we'll address this because we are going to go there. Is the consulting world, because been there. I've actually worked for companies where I had to wear a suit and I hated it. Now, me being an agilist, a lot of us were like, well, wait a minute, we're trying to get them to think differently. Why would we dress like what we're trying to get them to be different by? But there are some agile consulting companies or consulting companies that are now like agile and they're still acting like that. And how is that helping them change their thinking? And this is where it's almost like they need to go to improv and start really realizing that they have an identity issue.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, everyone needs to go to improv, right? That, and that's not me doing a commercial. That's like,
I agree.
Seeing it like, seeing CEOs, for example. I've worked with CEOs one-on-one through improv, and watching how all of a sudden they have this moment of like, oh, I've had everything wrong. Like this is just about connecting with people and then watching their business start to flourish because they had like an inner shift, right? I think when you're talking about consulting, it's the perfect if you're a consultant, it's taking improv is really key because you are essentially transferring energy to someone, right? Like you're actually giving that energy to someone else, and you're doing it through it's the same principles that apply. You're connecting with someone heart to heart. You're finding the empathetic angle. Like, what is it that you resonate with someone else? And I think you're right. There is this kind of energy around it, right? Of like, I have to show up, I have to do the script, I have to do the programming, the power, the hierarchy. That's a very hard word to say. The hierarchy. Thank you. The hierarchy of it all. And I think, again, we've got to question, there's a book, I've read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, one of my favorite books. I've read it about 400 times because it's just my favorite book. And he writes another book called The 5th Agreement. He added an agreement, and the agreements are basically these principles, very simple principles to live your life by. And the 5th agreement is question everything. And I think that's really important because it's like, why do we subscribe to 9 to 5? Why do we subscribe to 401ks or RRSPs? Why do we subscribe to this has to happen this way? And I think when you start to go, oh, because we all just agreed on that. We all were just okay.
I used to teach my kids when I was a science teacher. That was one of the things I said, if you're ever going to leave my classroom, I'm going to teach you how to question everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So improv teaches us that. It actually teaches us to question everything because improv is all about it's moment to moment creation, right? So like I want to show you an example if that's okay.
Do it. Let's go.
So very simple way to I know both of you have done some improv before. And something you can do if you're watching this at home, you can do at home or with someone on Zoom is it's word association. It's the most simplest improv game because it's just working from something quite simple. So like I say a word, like I'll say whatever word comes to me, maybe from this room, from my mind. Right now we said consulting. So I'm using that word. I'm not questioning why I'm using that word. I'm just using that word because it feels right. So I'm going to say consulting. Roxana will then say consulting and then say the next word that just pops into her mind from that word. So
tree.
Great. And then Veronica, you will say, you said tree, right, Roxana?
I said tree?
Yeah.
Tree.
So
okay, I'm like, where the hell did the tree come from consulting?
I have a Christmas tree right in front of me. So,
and that's the point, right? It's like our brains go like, what is that?
Okay.
What does that mean, right? But we want to be like,
tree, boring ornament.
Great. So now we just keep adding, right? So and taking just 2 words, right? So now I take boring ornament because that was your second word, and I'll add another word to it, and I'm going to say red. And then Roxana will say red.
Red.
And another word.
Okay. Red glasses.
Great. And then Veronica, you'll say glasses and then another word.
Filtered mind.
Okay. Filter. You said filtered mind or filtered mine?
Yeah, like mind. Yeah, like your mind.
Filtered mind, vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner, phone number.
Phone number, cell phone.
Cell phone tower. Okay, good. Let's pause. So this is a really great exercise because
I was just getting into it.
we'll come back to it. We're just pausing. We're not stopping. We're just pausing for a second. So this is a really great exercise because it really illustrates how present we are, right? Because there's two types of people, right? There's the people who live more in the past and there's the people who live more in the future. And so this game is really great because if you're the person that like it gets to you and you're like, right? And you're thinking a lot, then generally what that means is that you're someone who is a little bit more in the past, right? You're kind of always kind of going through thoughts. You're figuring out what worked before, what was said before. If you're someone that gets to you and it's more like, then you're more of a future person because you're worried about the outcome, right? You're worried about what you say and how it's gonna
amazing.
If you're someone who's much more present, when you get present with this game, it's an even flow to the point where you almost don't know what you're saying. It's just like blue belt, apple pie. It's like there's no filtration system. And speaking of lawyers, I talk to, because I work with business people, I'm like, it's your inner lawyer, right? So it'll be like your word is blue, and then your inner lawyer is like, just wait, hold please, blue. What should you say next?
I'm blue.
Yeah, my client needs a moment, right? It's like the inner lawyer that curates the answer. And it's so built in that it's almost subconscious. It just shows up as you kind of trying to come up with something. But when you go deep, you realize that it's the inner part of us that's like, you better say something interesting. This better make sense. This better, because it's the part of us that learned that behavior of like, we need to show up.
This is huge because as we know, and especially, what you do in your profession as well. And I know, Roxana, you think this way as well, well, with your things that you do as well. I can't even talk anymore. Anyway, my point is that being present, if you're so busy thinking about the past and you're so busy thinking of the future and you're not in the moment, you're missing the things that you need to take action and do that are extremely important. And this is a mindset fitness exercise. Huge. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. It's all about the practice, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely the key. The key to improv is being present, right? The truth is we technically are always present in the sense that we're always here experiencing. But the past and the future are actually, first of all, they're constructs. They don't even exist because it's always the present, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, we buy into the constructs, like because we've actually used them as tools to get over things, right? Like sometimes it's helpful. We can go, well, what happened last time I, turned the stove on and put my finger on it? Oh, I burned myself. Okay, so this time I'm not going to do that, right? And that's really important. The future can be like, well, okay, we're planning for the future. We're thinking about putting things in order, finances. We're going on a trip. What are we going to do next? That's helpful. What's not helpful is when it shows up in every other area of our life where we don't need it, right? Where we have anticipatory anxiety, where we have people dwelling on the past, not taking action because last time they got burned. And I'm not talking about the stove. I'm talking about a business venture, right? Like, so
that's driving those negative emotions out.
And so it's learned behavior. So the first thing is like, we have to let ourselves off the hook because we all learn how to do this for good reason, right? When it comes to things like the stove or financial, whatever, right? But we've got to get to the point where we realize that it is, like you said, Veronica, it is your ability to deal with what's in front of you in the moment with as much presence as possible. It's that actually brings the success you crave.
That is a huge life skill. And for me, where my mission is to have life coaching and, organizations and education. Just imagine you start this early and people have this ability, right? Little people learn this most of our issues that we have in the world today would look completely differently or non-existent because they have that ability to be present and to act in the way that is positive.
Yes. Absolutely. And to springboard, to dive board off of that, it actually is all about connection with someone else too, right? Like that's actually the point, because the only way to truly be present is to be outwardly focused.
Yeah.
Most of us walk around looking at a mirror. Your job as an entrepreneur, as a human, is to turn the mirror out to reflect people for themselves, so that people can see themselves.
You got to be the magnet too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's same principle, right? The magnet. So you've got to be able to, there's a skill that we teach number one, day one in improv, which is yes and, right? The idea of yes anding someone, which is really acceptance in the purest form, because you're not only agreeing and taking in with what they've said, but then you're adding kind of the next step, like we did with the words, right? Blue bird or whatever it might be. I want to, if we have time, I want to show you two more quick little things, because I think it's fun to learn from a principle.
We'll go over today. What do you think, Roxana?
Okay.
Can we do it in 2 minutes?
I'll show you one last thing.
And not too long.
one last thing. I'll be quick.
I don't follow rules. That's me.
So this is because I just want to illustrate this point of working off of each other. If you don't have the time, I understand.
No, let's go.
Well, no, let's just do this one. Come on.
Okay, this is called Expert. It's my favorite improv game, and the way, and it's appropriate for this show, right? So the way that it works is that I'm gonna be like the host of the Expert show. The two of you are gonna play the expert, but you're gonna speak one word at a time. Okay, so you're actually gonna like speak sentences working together as a team, right? But you can only speak one word at a time. Now, the goal with this scene is to stay present, and don't be afraid to be the person that has to say the or at or from, or the boring words, right? What we call the boring words. So what we will do is I need a suggestion. You always need something to work from. So I just need to know a favorite animal. Roxana, your favorite animal?
Dog.
Great.
I can do that.
And Veronica, your favorite sport?
I don't really do sports.
Your favorite sport to watch, or that you've heard of?
Okay, I'll just say Pilates.
Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Expert Show. I'm here with an expert today on dog Pilates. It's a new craze sweeping North America. And I would just love to know, expert, first of all, remember one word at a time. What is your name?
Veronica. Oh.
What you were saying? My
name
is
Veronica.
Amazing. Veronica, thank you for being here. I just love to know, what got you into dog Pilates? Where did that idea come from?
Well.
You were saying?
Well.
I
love
doggies.
And
bending.
So
we
were
bending
because bending
is fabulous.
I couldn't agree more. I love a good bend in the morning. Yeah. So can you tell me your favorite dog Pilates move?
Downward.
Downward dog, of course, is what you mean. Yeah, what a great move. Yes. Now, before you go, can you just tell us where can we find out more about your dog Pilates practice? Is there like a website we could visit?
www.
What was that? Sorry.
www.
Dogpilates.org.
Wow, great. Organize. Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, so, you know, that game is so much fun. It's childlike fun, and the mistakes are amazing. Like, notice, like, every time we, like, spoke at the same time or someone started, it was like we laughed about it, we enjoyed it, and it opened us up more, right? And I think that's the point, because when people watch that, right, what do they actually remember? They actually remember those moments of humor, those moments of like coming up with something on the spot, which is so, you know, interesting to people because we don't practice it enough. So
I love games like that.
The self-critical person would go, oh, well, we both spoke at the same time, or we da. And then you look at it and you go, that is so not the issue. Like no one cares about that.
Yeah.
And we've
I just want to keep going.
right. And we've got to get to the point where as business owners, we realize that mistakes are okay. If you're the bank manager, to go back, improv teaches us callbacks, going back. If you're the bank manager and someone walks in and you go, hi, welcome to the blah, 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 and you like forget your words, laugh about it. Have a moment. Be like, wow, I'm a human in a suit, right? Make a joke about it. Know that that will endear people to you. And the people that criticize that are not your people.
Yeah, I think this is why this is so powerful, because we instantly make analogies to what happens in real life. But because we do it and we laugh about it, then we're also capable to, whenever we do it and that happens in real life, we're going to laugh about it, because we're going to remember that moment where, oh, that was so much fun actually, and it wasn't the issue, as you said. So
and it's like, this game channels all the senses. So if someone's trying to process that information, right, it allows them to understand the power of it and have conversations afterwards, right, from doing these. So it's awesome. I know too.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to have you back, Tony. We got to have you back.
I would love to be back. Thank you for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Now,
it was so much fun.
What just to probably, I didn't know if you gave Roxana anything on our little beautiful captions.
Yes,
but
I did.
Yeah, so let's end with they already know about us.
But okay, so the caption stopped right before your face. That's good.
He's improving. He'll be okay.
Oh, it's this way. So I'm a big lover of Christmas, of all things Christmas, holiday season. Also my partner is obsessed with Christmas, so our whole house looks like the North Pole. So I'm actually, my company is called The Present You Inc. And as you heard today, I work with entrepreneurs. I work with teams through improv, through life mindset and NLP work, and I help you get present in your life. So it's called The Present You Inc. fittingly. And we're running 12 days of giveaways starting on Monday. Every day I'm going to be going live and giving away some major prizes, shopping sprees, books, like coaching packages, something every day. And there will be other things to win for people in our group as well, which is Inspired Entrepreneurs of the World. So Roxana will put the link. You just put your name and email. You're on the 12 days list. It will tell you where you need to go, and you can show up every day and you can win some awesome prizes.
I want to shine up. I'm going to shine up.
Shine up those shoes. Shine up those shoes and and come on over. Come on down.
Always change words. Anyways, thank you so much. And I definitely, if you're willing and wanting to come back, I think this is an extremely important thing that we have to keep repeating, right? If you repeat it takes about 7 to 12 times before it actually starts to sink in with people. And we need to get this to sink in.
I would love to help you sink this in. Yes, let's do it. And you're right. It's that marketing 101, right? It's that 7 impressions. It's that idea that, and you know what? A lot of companies, I'll come back because it's like it's like taking those steps forward, right? And I think that's the learning here, is that we're never going to fully get it. And that's great. Like the work is never done.
No, never. That's the beauty of life,
as
right?
Much as I'll be present and I'll be like, improv's everything. I'll still get in my head. I'll still be thinking about the future. I'll still be in the past. That happens, and that's natural. It's human. It's about
this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a way to end a Friday.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Okay. You know me, ReThink with Veronica, my channel, and Roxana has her.
Actually, wait. We're hitting Tony's face again with the captions. So
the mojo. Right now we do weekly lives. I'm cooking up, getting myself organized. So just come and join me. As I've always been saying, I'm just trying to be quick about it. It's not about it right now. And then Roxana, real quick.
And also, I have 12 days of Christmas, but Tony's title is better because it's 12 days of giveaways. So, but anyway, so 12
There's
days
no grading system, Roxana. They're both great.
Okay, true. Okay, I can do my own thing then. So yeah, giveaways were already started. So it's day 5 today. So stay tuned on anywhere that you're watching this, because you're gonna see what we have in shop today for your personal and professional development. And that was it for today. We're gonna have you back, Tony, for sure.
I would love to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, awesome. Yeah, like now, this is a great way. I'm like ending the day with high vibe.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, my
I love about improv.
improv. See,
It is.
Awesome.
It's the power of improv. So I'll come back with more games and things to play. It'll be fun.
awesome. Okay,
Yeah, I
have a
think we're
great
just gonna
one,
jump
people.
into the games. All right, see you guys.